Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking a truly atmospheric piece of source material, the Doctor Who novella Ghost Ship by Keith Topping, and we are going straight to the depths with it.
We really are. Our mission today is very specific. We're boarding a magnificent ocean liner, the RMS Queen Mary, in October 1963. But this isn't a pleasure cruise.
Not at all.
It becomes a kind of technological prison, and we're going to track the complete erosion of scientific skepticism in our protagonist, the Doctor, as he confronts something far crueler than a simple ghost story.
It's an incredibly intense journey. It all leads to this reveal of a tragically simple and just obscenely selfish scientific experiment. It's all about time, fate, and really the weaponization of human despair.
And for you joining us, we should say this is a dense, character-driven story. It doesn't start with a bang. It starts with profound internal chaos.
That chaos is absolutely the key to the whole thing, isn't it?
It's the foundation. We find the Doctor in this state of really profound melancholia. He's brooding, feeling this clinging sense of guilt that he normally manages to avoid.
And the text is specific. It ties this mood to recent tragedies, like the deaths of President and Chancellor Goth, which happened right after the Master's schemes.
Exactly. So he's stuck in that loop of what if? If he's a Time Lord, if he gets the big picture of fate, why does he keep failing on this personal, catastrophic level?
He's second-guessing himself completely.
He is. The narrative says these big questions about fate are never solved easily or without the price of some personal regret. He's just drowning in it.
And the TARDIS, well, the TARDIS doesn't like it.
It can't abide it.
Oh.
We have to remember the TARDIS is sentient. It has these telepathic circuits, and it senses this debilitating guilt and essentially diagnoses him.
The diagnosis being he needs an adventure, and he needs it now.
Right now. So the machine just dematerializes.
Yeah.
All on its own. He didn't touch a thing.
He kind of goes along with it, though. He thinks a single random element might be what he needs to snap out of this funk.
Which is such a tragic miscalculation because the TARDIS, with the best of intentions, drops him into a place that's practically designed to amplify despair.
And the landing is just immediate dread.
Oh yeah, the console flashes, location unknown. He steps outside and immediately he feels it. The motion, the shunting of steam, the smell of sea salt.
He figures out he's on a huge, opulent ocean liner. And a discarded ticket stub gives him the specifics.
The Cunard liner, the Queen Mary. October 1963, sailing from Southampton to New York.
And his first reaction is relief, isn't it?
Total relief. His mind immediately goes to the Titanic or the Lusitania. He thinks, for just a second, no disasters lying in wait for me here.
Which is the ultimate piece of narrative irony. The disaster waiting for him is so much worse than an iceberg. It's psychological.
It's structural. But to really get the scale of the trap, we first have to talk about the philosophical stage the novella sets.
Okay, so let's start there. In the void.
Right. The author begins outside of time and space. He describes the void as vast, eternal, and impenetrable. Just this unbroken blanket of nothingness.
It's a place where time and space have no substance beyond the limits of a fertile imagination. It sounds beautiful, but also just overwhelmingly lonely.
It is. It's mournful. And the only thing breaking the silence of this perfect nothingness is the Doctor's two hearts, beating with an unnatural, jagged, and erratic rhythm. He's the flaw in the perfection.
And this is where the story really tries to give you a jolt of existential terror.
Yeah.
Right, with that mental exercise.
It's horrifyingly effective. It asks you to imagine 1 million people trapped inside a single grain of sand.
Okay.
Then you multiply that by all the grains of sand on every beach on Earth. The number you end up with, the book suggests, is roughly the number of inhabited planets. It's the bewildering beauty of complete insignificance.
And all that vastness just makes his personal guilt feel even heavier.
It collapses right back on him, all that cosmic scale, and he still couldn't save 2 friends.
It brings us right back to that epigraph from Hamlet. The time is out of joint. Oh, cursed spite that ever I was born to set it right. He feels this immense burden.
A burden, he says, is a luxury I have never allowed myself in the past. He genuinely thinks his mistakes are the cause of untold suffering.
So the TARDIS sees this spiral and thinks, I know the cure.
And the cure is apparently the most haunted place on Earth. What an incredible misjudgment.
The initial description of the ship is so good at hiding the danger, though. It's all sensory detail. The vibrating engines, the well-oiled pistons, the opulence.
But there's decay even in the opulence. The carpets, once lush, are described as faded and thin, worn down by history. Every footstep has left a mark.
And we're grounded immediately in 1963. The shop fronts in the foyer W.H. Smith, tailors, tobacconists.
And that wonderful name, Fetchcock, Ambler, Bucknell and Grimes, selling fancy foods and hosiery.
The juxtaposition of the totally mundane with this huge, groaning machine is what creates that atmosphere.
It really is. The text says a deckboard creaks under his feet, not like a ship under strain, but like the bones of an old and arthritic man. Ship isn't a vessel, it's a suffering organism.
And then that opulence is just shattered.
By the scream, a high-pitched woman's scream, and then a second one even louder, and he rushes into the corridor and feels that classic, chilling presence behind me.
Which turns out to be Simpkins, the steward.
Not a ghost, just this small man with a rather bemused expression. He's the perfect anchor of humanity in all this.
And it leads to that bizarrely funny moment with the jelly baby.
The doctor offers him a red one, and Simpkins says, a man of taste, clearly. And they immediately start talking about the cochineal dye.
That it's made from crushed Mexican beetles.
And Simpkins is fascinated by this. It's a perfect little detail. They're discussing death and extraction on a tiny scale while standing in a giant vessel filled with it.
But Simpkins doesn't see him as a scientist. He pegs him as Dr. Svengali, master of mesmerism.
He recognizes the performance, but he can't see the reality behind it.
And then the third scream draws them to Miss Lamb's cabin.
Irene Lamb. High Society Belgravia address, and she's just a wreck, pointing at the wall, claiming she saw a transparent ghost.
The doctor's immediate reaction is pure skepticism. A bad dream.
But Simpkins is way past that. He wraps a cardigan around her, notices she's ice cold, and then he lays it all out.
He points out how cold the ship is. Colder than the North Atlantic in October have any right to be.
And then he says it. There's some as say that this ship is haunted. A ghost ship.
And the doctor just scoffs. I don't believe in such things. He argues there's always a rational explanation.
And Simpkins' reply is so chilling, he just says, you will. Then he gives a specific warning that drives the whole story.
Do not, under any circumstances,
go to cabin 672.
Deck 4, first class, never occupied. And he tells the story of the bursar.
Back in 1938, the man went mad mid-voyage, and when they got to New York, he was found frightened to death.
The fear in that one room was potent enough to kill someone.
Simpkins is terrified of it. He says, all the tea in China and all the bananas in Jamaica wouldn't get me in there.
He also mentions the bulkhead doors.
A critical bit of foreshadowing. He says they have razor-sharp edges and talks about a sailor losing his leg playing chicken with them during the war. It's a concrete mechanical threat, very different from the ghosts.
So the doctor leaves that conversation completely disturbed. His rationalist facade is already cracking.
It is. So after that, his crisis just gets worse. He's on the top deck during this howling storm, and he's just dwelling on fate and predetermination.
He sees the whole massive ship as just a small insect trapped in a sea of tar.
That scale again, it just crushes human ambition. He thinks about escaping to the TARDIS, his oasis, but he can't. He's pinned there.
So the next morning he tries to break out of this pit of despair by finding some company.
He joins Miss Lamb and her group for breakfast in the forward bar. All red velvet and polished oak.
And this scene is where we meet Raymond Bryce, who is just a fantastic character.
The classic new money industrialist from the North. The doctor immediately sees his obscenely obvious pretense towards sophistication.
But he's more complex than that, isn't he? He's defending first-class privilege, saying the world will always have lazy people and scum.
Right, but then he immediately complicates that caricature. He talks about his father,
the Riveter,
the man who literally built these ships but never got to travel on them. He describes his dad coming home and collapsing into a tin bath of near-boiling water just to thaw out. So for him, his wealth is earned.
He backs it up with his war service in North Africa. He admits he was terrified, that he ran away like buggery, but he came back, he fought, he survived.
And he connects that personal survival to a bigger story about aspiration. He tells this anecdote about a Sikh soldier he met in the desert.
Bryce asked him why he was fighting.
And the soldier said he wanted a world where his son wouldn't have to work in a mine or a mill.
So for Bryce, the class divide isn't just snobbery. It's a symbol of a generational victory over hardship.
The doctor still sees it as a symbol of status rather than taste. But Bryce poses this disturbing question. Why are people in third class happy to be there? Why aren't they all striving?
But despite all his bluster, the mood is still just wrong. When the doctor leaves, Miss Lamb has tears in her eyes. The ship's atmosphere is getting to everyone.
And that's the perfect time for the next big clue. The doctor finds the lounge empty, picks up a discarded copy of the Times from 2 days before.
And he reads an article about a Dr. Peter Osbourne.
A maverick quantum physicist, leaving Britain for the U.S. to get funding for an experimental time machine because his grant was cut.
And the doctor's reaction is so telling.
He just mutters that Osborne is probably a very brilliant and very lonely man. He sees the red flags of the maverick, the desperation, the isolation. He sees a dark reflection of himself.
And right after that discovery, his scientific certainty just collapses.
Completely. He has another chat with Simpkins, who's with his friend Jarvis now, who just looks sick and defeated.
And they start listing all the ship's real-world tragedies. Suicides, a wartime explosion.
Horrible, overwhelming, useless information, as the text puts it.
So the doctor makes one last stand for rationalism. He actually shouts, "I don't believe in ghosts." He even quotes Macbeth.
Full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, he's using literature to fight off this dread.
But it doesn't work.
Not at all. Because right after he says that, he opens his eyes, and an ill-defined apparition floated through a cabin wall in front of me.
And that's it. His entire worldview is shattered in that one instant.
The text says it all. And that was very odd, because I don't actually believe in ghosts. Well, now he has to.
This is the moment where he's forced to accept the inexplicable, which for a Time Lord must be absolutely terrifying.
He's terrified, yes. And he tries to rationalize it. Is it an hallucination, a trick of the light, maybe some kind of psychotrauma from his time in the Matrix on Gallifrey?
For you listening, the Matrix is basically the huge psychic computer network of all Time Lord experience. So, yeah, that could mess you up.
But the idea that really starts to creep in is a Time Lord myth. A disease like schizophrenia caused by a surfeit of time travel. He wonders if he's finally gone mad.
And the visitations just keep coming. They're relentless.
They're everywhere. Sometimes they're just wisps, but other times they're two-dimensional and translucent, which suggests they have some kind of substance, but not a physical one.
And they have a smell, which is such a strange detail.
A curious, disarming smell.
Yeah.
It's caustic and pungent, like burning rope and rotting skin, but also rosemary and oranges and wet autumn leaves.
The scent of life and death all at once.
Exactly. Then the visions get actively terrifying. Screaming skulls loom out of the walls. He cries out and he feels this intense physical chill.
He can see his own breath.
Like a thick cloud of fog. He realizes the whole ship was like an icebox. Something is draining all the heat out of the environment.
So he tries to talk to them.
He asks, "What are you?" And the voice is internal, guttural. First it just confirms his identity. Doxitor. Then a woman's voice joins in with that awful mantra.
No light, no sound, no end.
It suggests absolute eternal captivity, and then the voices just multiply, dozens, hundreds, thousands, all screaming that same message into his mind.
And this psychic blast forces a vision on him, right? He sees the world through their eyes.
Through their dead eyes. He sees a warped, blue-tinged world viewed through thick, shatterproof glass. A glass prison. That blue tinge and the glass are key details to remember.
The visions also prove they aren't just historical ghosts.
Right. He sees an injured soldier whispering, "I can't feel my legs, Sarge," and a little girl with a translucent teddy bear. Their tragedies haven't happened yet.
And then the final message appears on the wall. In blood.
672. Now he knows where the source of all this agony is.
Yeah, so he runs. He runs for the TARDIS.
His sanctuary. But it's locked down. The dematerialization nodule, the fast return switch, which is the emergency escape button, nothing works. The console is dead.
Which is hugely significant, means there's a technical barrier. Something is actively blocking Time Lord technology.
He's marooned, pinned like a butterfly. And he accepts it. This is fate's revenge for him ever doubting it.
Unable to leave, he runs into Miss Lamb again near the swimming pool. And they have this incredibly intellectual conversation.
About the romantic poets. Coleridge, Shelley, Byron. It's this bizarre moment of calm before the storm.
They talk about Shelley, who drowned at sea, and they're standing right next to this huge pool of water.
And as they're talking, the doctor has this devastating precognitive vision. He looks at Miss Lamb and sees dead eyes, hollow sockets, filled with maggots.
He sees her drowning in the pool.
Violently, her eyes are staring at him accusingly as she gulps down the killing water.
So he panics, he grabs her, shouts, "Don't go in the water," and physically blocks the doors to the pool.
He tries to explain, but how can you explain a Time Lord vision? She doesn't fully get it, but she does recognize the atmosphere. She says, "This is a bad place, isn't it?"
She asks if he's seen the ghosts, too.
He walks her back to her cabin, feeling like a total failure because he can't give her a straight answer. He knows he has this information, but he can't make it useful.
And then, hours later, his failure becomes absolute.
He finds Simpkins and Jarvis banging on her door. She'd rung for a sandwich, but now she's not answering. The key is in the lock on the inside.
So they break the door down.
And Miss Lamb is dead, drowned, but not in the pool.
She's in her bathtub.
Her pale, white, and naked body lay at the bottom of her bathtub, her still open eyes glaring at me accusingly, and the doctor's just crushed.
He realizes the vision was a warning about the killing water. Any water. Not just the pool. His attempt to save her was too literal, and it failed.
The inability to save just one life leaves him hollow and sickened. All his power, all his foreknowledge meant nothing.
And that failure, that inability to be the hero, is what finally pushes him into action.
He goes back to the TARDIS and just starts beating his fists against a brick wall, crying these selfish, angry, and inconsolable tears.
The TARDIS is still dead. It's basically telling him, you have to solve this, you can't run.
And he realizes that fear, his own fear of going mad, his fear of failure, is what's been holding him back. He has to go to cabin 672.
As he's walking, he decides this isn't some grand cosmic evil, this is small evil, conceived by small minds, which makes it even worse.
It does. Now, he's smart. He doesn't touch the doorknob of 672. He knocks on the cabin next door, 673.
Which is completely empty and derelict.
Yeah.
Cobwebs, mildew.
No.
Seems harmless.
But then he realizes the common wall between the two cabins is the real boundary. He puts his hand against it.
And the sound just hits him.
Thousands of them all sobbing and wailing in misery. The wall seems to bend, with faces pushing against it from the inside. The psychic power is so intense, he just blacks out.
So when he wakes up, he knows he has to face 672 directly.
He grabs the bronze knob, and the pain is electric, agonizing. The shock of thousands upon thousands of tormented souls, but when the door opens, it's not a horror chamber.
It's just a room.
Yeah.
With a man in it.
An unremarkable man in his mid-30s, the total mad scientist stereotype. Thick horn-rimmed glasses, tweed with elbow pads, Dr. Peter Osbourne.
And he's just sitting there calmly sipping tea, writing. He's even wearing white gloves. A total clinical detachment.
Osbourne starts talking in this rapid-fire, agitated way. He confirms he's the physicist from the newspaper, and he corrects the doctor. It's not a time machine for travel. It's a time visualizer. It's made to see time.
He boasts about his reputation and then asks the doctor, do you believe in God?
And he answers his own question with the ultimate statement of hubris. I am become God.
Okay, let's talk about the machine itself, because the details are fantastic.
They are. It's this chaotic mess of junk that somehow works. There's a metronome, an electrical pulse generator, 2 tin cans soldered together that act as a primitive tachyon particle accelerator.
And the centerpiece. A big bell-shaped glass jar with a cork lid, and it has that same blue tinge the doctor saw in his vision.
Right. And the doctor, who understands tachyons, realizes that despite its junk shop appearance, the physics of it would actually work. It's a brilliant mind using terrible materials to do something profound.
And Osborne flicks a switch, and the doctor can see them inside the jar.
Tormented faces sealed in miniature, pressed against the glass. And this is where we get the chilling scientific reveal.
The ghosts aren't really ghosts. They're essences.
Exactly. Snapshots of the psychic energy of everyone who has been, is, or will be on the Queen Mary, from the very first rivet to its final destruction.
And here's the obscene part of the mechanism.
He's trapping them specifically at their lowest point, when they were depressed or frightened or lonely or sick of life. His machine uses that negative energy, that rush of adrenaline and pain, as a power source.
He's literally fueling his machine with aggregated human misery.
That's it. The screaming skulls, the chill in the air, the dread. It was all just the psychic exhaust from this machine. And the blue tinge was the color of the glass prism.
The doctor realizes the entire haunting reputation of the ship was artificially created by this one man. Cabin 672 was the psychic epicenter.
And his rage is just boiling over because of the callousness. He points out, these poor people, they tried to warn me, they tried to warn Miss Lamb. He realizes these thousands of trapped souls tried to do the heroic thing that he failed to do.
But Osborne feels nothing. His motivation is just vanity and resentment because his grant got cut. He calls compassion sentimental nonsense.
He even uses Einstein and Oppenheimer to justify it, arguing that great discoveries require moral compromise. He sees human suffering as just a data stream.
He calls time an incestuous whore that he's going to master.
And when the doctor demands to know why he did all this, Osborne finally just snarls the truth.
Why? You want to know why? Because I can.
And that's it. There's no grand design. It's not for science or humanity. It's for spite. for his own ego.
And that callousness, that conceit, is what pushes the doctor over the edge.
The final straw is when he realizes that the vision he saw of Simpkins, the man being sliced in half, was a future event. Osborne could have used his machine to save him.
But instead, he just catalogs his future spirit for the jar.
Osborne tries one last jab, calling the doctor weak for caring about others.
But he's done talking. He shouts, "I have every right!" And he kicks the metronome, the ticking heart of the device.
Osborne screams a warning, but it's too late. The doctor grabs the wooden frame of the metronome and just smashes the bell jar.
Smashes it to smithereens with one mighty blow.
And this flood of raw psychic energy just explodes into the room. The doctor collapses, but he feels this satisfaction, this taste of freedom. Osborne just vanishes in the chaos.
When the doctor wakes up, the cabinet is silent. Osborne is gone. He thinks it's over.
He races for the TARDIS, desperate to get away. But the Queen Mary still has one more tragedy to enact.
He's forced to watch the precognitive vision he was shown earlier come true. The one with the bulkhead doors.
He sees Simpkins, his cheerful friend, backed into a corner, completely overwhelmed by all that released despair. He's shouting, "The ship's damned! I'm taking the only way out!"
And a red emergency light starts flashing. Simpkins has opened an exterior bulkhead.
And the doctor is too far away. He's forced to watch, completely helpless, as the heavy, razor-sharp door slams shut and slices Simpkins cleanly in two.
It's the final proof that he couldn't set this right. He destroyed the machine, but he couldn't stop the consequences. He's left with this brooding sense of failure.
And the final crushing truth is waiting for him at the TARDIS. It's surrounded by this mass of glowing white energy.
The specters. They're no longer trapped in the jar. They've merged.
They've become a vast collective gestalt of psychic energy that was woven into the very fabric of the ship. They're not individual souls anymore. They're part of the ship's structure.
And they speak with one booming voice, telling him to leave, confirming they're stuck here forever.
And then the final punchline. Osborne reappears. Just a face, smiling smugly from within that collective mass of energy.
He played God, and the price was becoming part of the misery he created.
He's an eternal captive, and he confirms it, asking, where else has there ever been for us to go, before vanishing back into the collective.
So the doctor leaves the Queen Mary. It's no longer just haunted. It's structurally infested with the aggregated despair of thousands of lives.
He stopped the act of cruelty, the capturing, but he couldn't erase the permanent stain.
Which is such a devastating thought about trauma, isn't it? Even when you smash the instrument of cruelty, the sheer weight of that suffering remains, forever woven into the world. He leaves, unable to set this specific time right.
And that leaves the ultimate question for you to think about. When a trauma is that vast and that deeply embedded into a place, is destroying the weapon that caused it a real victory? Or is it just changing the shape of the prison? If the misery is still there, now powering the very walls of the ship, how does anyone ever truly escape the structure of despair? That's something to mull over the next time you hear an old building creak.